Welcome to the Fanboy and the Hater,
a podcast hosted and produced by Mike Hall
and Jim Harris, where we discuss the best
and worst
in movies,
TV,
and pop culture.
We are going to talk about the new Joker movie. Spoiler-free first impressions for those who have not seen the movie yet. Do you want to start us off with that, Jim?
I had low expectations going in, and my low expectations were at war with the fact that so many people were warning me that my expectations will be thwarted or will be subverted by what I might expect. I largely found the movie to be boring. I kept waiting for things to get interesting or at least something that would make me feel strongly one way or the other, and it just never happened.
I expected more out of this movie. I think this could have been a very, very good movie, but I just felt like they played with the art to the point that they lost the story. If you're a film student or a cinephile where you're in love with cinematography and camera angles and, oh, they did this with his body to demonstrate blah, blah, blah. If that's what you like about movies, you may love this movie. But if you go to a movie for a good story, you have those people that will tell you a story that they find interesting, and the whole time you're just waiting for it to get interesting, and it never does, and they get done, you're like, was that it? Was I supposed to react to that? That's what this movie is. The thing was, like, through the movie, I kept waiting for it to get interesting because there's so many points in it that it could have been interesting.
Yes.
This movie could have been amazing if they would have focused on the story they were trying to tell. And they just kept losing focus on that story just to focus on, hey, we need to try to get some awards for this movie. That's how I saw it, at least. And I found it ridiculous, and it missed the point. It missed the mark.
I agree. There were definitely points where it's like, okay, something's about to happen that's going to make me sit up a little bit in my chair and start to take interest. They're going to turn this into something interesting at some point. Nope. So yeah, it was very beguiling in that respect.
And parts of it, too, is because leading up to the movie, because it went to all these film festivals and there's so much hype around it, and there's all these warnings about all the disturbing imagery that's going on, I kept expecting it to develop more and to be more. And everybody's talking about how disturbing it was and how you felt so uncomfortable the whole time. And I didn't at all.
Oh, yeah. When we were walking into the movie theater, there was a sign on the door out front of the movie theater that was specific to this movie. And it said, "This is not your typical comic book film and is only intended for mature audiences. Rated R for strong bloody violence, disturbing behavior, language, and brief sexual images." None of that applies to this movie.
Not really. There's 3 bloody scenes, but only 2 of them are really even remotely strong or disturbing. And even those they're pretty light. You see a lot worse in John Wick and movies like that.
You see a lot worse violence in television shows.
Yeah, exactly.
This was not a violent, disturbing movie. I'm sorry, but Walking Dead has had bloodier, gorier scenes.
Oh, for sure.
Than anything that was in this movie. So I'm sorry, but I don't understand this whole, oh my God, this movie is very disturbing. The actual violent content of this movie, I'm sorry, but it's laughable. This movie did not need to be rated R. There was no strong language. The brief sexual images were pictures of naked women that flash on the screen briefly. There's been more nudity on television. This could be put on television without a TVMA rating. To me, it's almost like a marketing gimmick that they rated it R and they did it. Oh, be very careful about going to this movie. You'll find it disturbing. It's not disturbing.
I think it is also very, very important to state, and I think that a lot of people were getting this confused coming into it. This is not a comic book movie.
No.
It is based off of a comic book character, but it is not a comic book movie.
Not only is it not a comic book movie, it is not a Batman movie.
No, not at all. It's barely even a Joker movie,
It's barely even a Joker movie.
We had talked about, before we saw this movie, we talked about possibly rolling this into, hey, let's talk about different versions of the Joker and how they possibly tie together or anything like that. We decided against it because this is so not a Joker movie that we didn't feel right even comparing it because it's so different.
I greatly appreciate the actual Joker character in Batman comic books, movies, and animated series and shows, and I think it's a fascinating character. I refuse to acknowledge this film as contributing to that character.
I agree with you. And the Joker is a very strong character with so much to it. The last 10 minutes of the movie, yeah, that was pretty close to a Joker that I could see. But other than that, no. Not even a little bit.
The Joker's actual origins in the comic books have been rather either obscured or multiple different origins. So I wasn't expecting, they had to do it a certain way because there are different ways to do it. I can't even accept this as an alternate origin story for the character. I'm sorry, I reject it as being part of it. I would even say if you took out, they went out of their way, like you said, to connect this to Batman. If you take the Waynes and Gotham City out of this movie, it could just be called Killer Clown or something.
From outer space!
From outer space! It doesn't even have to be connected to Batman in any way whatsoever. They wouldn't even have to take a lot out of this movie. Just don't set it in Gotham and don't mention the Wayne family at all and just give the movie a different name. So that's the other thing that annoyed me about it and why I don't connect it to the character is because you heavy-handedly connected it to the Batman.
This is a movie based on a character that is one of my favorite characters, and I never want to see this movie again.
I hope you at home can appreciate if Mike doesn't want to see a movie more than once, there's something wrong with that movie.
Yeah, I watch movies repeatedly because I love picking out little details and stuff that are in there. And this one, no. There's only 2 other comic book movies that I've ever not wanted to watch again. That's the second Ghost Rider movie and Dark Phoenix.
So Joaquin Phoenix, everyone is talking about how amazing he is in this movie and how he's going to be nominated for awards.
He did a good job. I wouldn't say he did a great job, but he did a good job. I believed he was that character through the whole thing, so he did a good job there.
Like you had said earlier, there were ways that this could have been a good movie, but maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm so mad about it. There was potential in this movie that was just unrealized.
I almost feel like the director took this movie in a way where he was mocking movies that get awards, and now he's possibly getting awards. Or at least they've been talking awards for this movie already, and it just came out.
Oh, it won awards at the film festivals.
Yeah.
I think at the Venice Film Festival and maybe also the Toronto Film Festival. So it did win awards there.
Those types of festivals are for cinephiles and students and stuff like that. And again, if you're looking at this movie from that angle, it probably is a very good movie.
There's a reason why those are separate categories, and for like editing and for cinematography and stuff like that. Many times you see some of the movies that don't win for like acting and directing and picture win some of those other awards. And I definitely agree. There are some aspects of this film from a cinematography standpoint deserve award recognition. If it's nominated, that's one thing, but this is not an Academy Award winning film. In my opinion, this is not an Academy Award winning performance by Joaquin Phoenix, in my opinion.
The Fanboy and the Hater,
where we discuss the best
and worst
in movies,
TV,
and pop culture.
We are available on all major podcast platforms,
including Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Spotify, and many more.
Join us while we argue about the things that we love,
like Star Wars, superheroes, and science fiction,
and the things that we wish were better,
like Star Wars, superheroes, and science fiction.
So tune in to The Fanboy and the Hater.